Hi, welcome everybody. So as Ashwin introduced, I brought this idea to him because like-minded. So I don't know. I'm a scientist, but I used to work for Woolworths head office, blah blah blah. But now I'm working in the NGO space, doing skills development, and I've really found my passion in this. Because I feel it's an excellent vehicle for the Three Angels message. So the skills development is that I do is around, we call it green circular economy, where we try and teach people skills along planting your own food garden and so forth, and then harnessing the properties of what you plant, whether it's and then using it. So then teaching you how to become an entrepreneur. So you get business skills as well. So then you can start your own little business from your own garden. So you can either go into a medical field where you do herbs and tinctures and whatever, balms and so forth, or you can go into it's called an agripreneurship field where you maybe make pestos and things. Whatever ideas come to your mind, that is what you can do by growing your own food garden. But as we know, the concept is to prepare for what is coming. So we know that in times you're going to have your own food, your own resources, your own everything. So for me, I'm very passionate about this because it's a vehicle to help others prepare for what is coming. And I think lately we've been seeing with Eskom and the floods and all these things have been impacting life, where it's touching us, and we see the importance of knowing skill sets that will help you through having no electricity, that will help you through when you can't get food, when you can't get water, because we know these things are coming, but God has been merciful in introducing it to us slowly through what's been happening. So we are having time to prepare a little. And so the Holy Spirit gave me these ideas, and I put it down on paper and I shared it with Ashwin, and I was like, I really I feel we need to do this, because I don't feel our church, they just briefly speaking about the health message, but nobody's really preparing for end times. And so I research a lot and so forth, and there's places in America, very small little groups that do these types of things, but it's like the one is just doing agriculture, the other one is just doing foraging and medicinal training and so forth. But there isn't a collective where everything is sort of being touched on. And I felt to be prepared, people need to have a little bit of everything. You don't need to be a master in one thing only, but each one needs to know a little to be able to survive, because we don't know where we're going to end up. We don't know what might happen. So that is kind of what speared this on. And I shared it with Ashton, and I was like, please find people like-minded that can help with this, because the Lord just gave me these ideas, and I can teach myself some of the skills. I can't do everything, and I don't know everything, and there must be people out there who are passionate and who know how to do some of these things. So it's been a while. We've been meeting with one or two people here and there, but finally he was like, okay, I've got a group. So I was excited. So here's the group. Also, the reason why I need to record and so forth is because I'm building it into the skills development. It's called urban survival. So I'll touch base on this later after I go through the Joseph model. And urban survival, I felt, was when, the grid collapse is going to happen sometime. And what happens with the grid collapse? There's no water, there's no electricity, there's nothing. So you're stuck in your house. And as SDAs, we always think, the end time and fleeing is survival in the mountain and whatever. But the reality is that we are going to be stuck in our homes first. And we're seeing it now already. So do you know how to survive in your house with nothing, or with the little that you have? Because most people, they go crazy, there's no electricity, what do I do? How do I cook? How do I do anything? If there's no water, what do I do? And we need to teach people how to survive in their homes first before we can teach them how to survive in the wild, so to say, on the run and so forth. So I'm busy building this into the skills development program, and so that's why I need to record it so that there's evidence and I can share it more with people and so forth. Because there's people asking me, do I have a video on this, do I have a video on that? So every workshop that I do, I record, so if you don't mind. Okay, so this was the idea that first came. God was just showing off. He was just amazing. And I called it the Joseph model because that's what God prepared Joseph for. He took him through all the pain and suffering and all of that, but it was to prepare him to be there to help the people when the time came. And God elevated him to a position where he could, and he gave them the knowledge and skill set of how to prepare for the famine and help the people. So that was kind of the concept that encapsulated this whole idea. And that's why I called it the Joseph model. So it basically is, can you see?
Yes.
Nothing is frozen.
Just click on the screen. There you go.
So, sorry.
You just give it a chance.
Yeah, everything is slow. Okay, so firstly, the Joseph model, I wanted to break it up into different sections. First, we would start with health workshops where, in your community, you would go out and you would give workshops on various things. Then there would be sections on survival workshops where you would teach them how to survive in-house, outside of the house, and so forth. And then there'd be like these end-time prep retreats. Because when you are actually in the wild or whatever, or you found your little piece of land but there's nothing on it, do you know then how to, if God gives us time, set up your little establishment and start from scratch and so forth. So that would obviously take more time, like maybe a week or a weekend. So those types of retreats are needed. So that's why I segmented it like that. So workshops, I started these workshops last year already in our community. We covered various topics from food gardening to preservation to helping people that have strokes, kitchen medicine, dental health workshops, all those types of things. So this is just an overview of the different types of workshops that it is that you can give to the community. And then the survival workshop. So this is for when the actual no buy, no sell part starts happening. But as you can see, well, we can see it's already starting to happen now. Slowly, but it is already happening. So then it's broken up into, there's a foraging and harvesting workshop where you go and you go into the wild and you learn to forage and harvest what is edible plants, what is medicinal plants and so forth.
Sorry, excuse me, that is now South African based.
Yes, indigenous.
Yeah.
Then we'll have a section on how to survive in the wild, so how to set up your own little tent, how to use whatever's around you. If you are stranded there, learning to identify different things that, these survival tricks that will help you get through the night or the week or however long you are there. Tree sapping or whatever the case may be. And then the next one is how to make tools and equipment from what is around you, like branches, stumps, leaves, things like that. Learning to identify what you can use and how you can make it into a tool, because if you're on the run, you have nothing. So you need to learn these skills. It's like going back to the basics, literally. And then obviously prepping your home, which is what I'm going to focus on today, because I think that's where we are. For this no buy, no sell period, and then also making your own toiletries, whether it's in the home or when you're on the run or whatever, because you can't go to a shop, so you need, and these things you need, so learning how to do that. So for example, the foraging for edible and medicinal plants would be like, which plants can you get water from? How can you, like, if you use a willow bark, you can use that for aspirin. There's also like wild lettuce, which is a weed which grows almost in everybody's garden. That is like almost as strong as morphine, the white sap, if you open it. Also the leaves, the lettuce of the leaves, it's got little spikes on it, but it's extremely nutritious and you can eat that as well. So some of the plants are medicinal and edible.
Hello. Hello. Good morning.
And then just use your basic food that you can eat just by noticing. Like you can start in your garden as well, seeing what weeds are edible, what are not, what plants are edible, what are not, which ones are medicinal, and so forth. Because a lot of the stuff is actually very nutritious and we don't even know it or realize it. For example, there is a weed that grows in almost everybody's garden, especially after winter rains. It's called amaranth. So it has a long stalk with these green leaves, and then on the top it's like got these little bulbs, and the bulbs turn pink. So amaranth is extremely nutritious. The leaves, you can eat the whole plant, every part of the plant. You can, and the bulbs on top, you dry it out and you can actually make flour from it. It's actually called an ancient grain, and there is amaranth flour in shops. It's very expensive, but it's there as well. So you get different classes of amaranth, but for survival purposes, for example, that is one that grows in almost everybody's garden. So it's about identifying those types of things, learning to forage herbs, not just our basic herbs that we know, like thyme and sage and so forth, but actually other herbs that technically are also weeds that we don't even realize, like the wild lettuce that I just spoke about now. And then also learning how to use what you have in your kitchen and in your garden as a first aid kit tool. Because you need to know, like, should anything happen, what can I do? If I have a cut, you put cayenne pepper on because it coagulates. Stuff like that. So it's all these little things that are treasure chests that we don't realize can save a life. And then the wilderness survival skills. This is basically like how to purify water, because now you probably won't have running water. So do you know how to purify water? Where you would take, if you had a little charcoal, or if you didn't have charcoal and you maybe just had a cloth, then you would take a bottle and you would put sand in first. First the cloth on the opening, then sand, then you would put stones in and you would put grass on the top. That's now really rudimentary basics. And that should then fall to the water. But there's also other ways that you can do that, and I'll get to that later. Then it's like bushcrafting, which is using things in the wild to sort of make utensils and foods and so forth. How to prevent blisters, which is very important, because if you're on the run, you probably don't have the right shoes, or even if you do have the right shoes, we're not used to walking a lot, so like how do you prevent blisters, because you really can't walk if you have a blister. It's simple things that you don't realize can impact your journey tremendously. Stuff like identifying danger signs, tracking, making your own radio frequencies, making solar cells, catching water out of thin air, so basically harvesting water. Making charcoal, making medicine without tools, and then identifying which plants can be used as toiletries and so forth, like soapy water and that type of thing. If you've broken your arm or something and you don't have anything, learning how to use mud as a cast, things like that. So, and then obviously your Pathfinder survival knots and so forth. Then the equipment, this is like learning to make these types of equipment with the things that you have around you. Making bark from plants, making knives from stones or tins or whatever you have. Using stones as an implement, because we don't really have to go back to the Stone Age, but we can use what we can learn how to use the little bits that we have around us. if we don't have those things. Solar showers, capturing water, solar lamps, candles, and then also the basics of just knowing what clothes to wear, because that can also save your life. What you wear, for example, preferably if you're on the run, try and wear as natural type fabric as possible, especially wool, because that will keep you warm when you need it and it will cool you off when you need it. Cotton, the same thing. So it's about slowly introducing and changing your lifestyle to prepare and get ready for what is coming. And then prepping your home. So this is what we're going to sort of zone in on today. I call it urban survival. So this is when you have no water, no electricity, no nothing. You're just stuck in your house. You can't get out because obviously if there is a grid collapse, that would mean there's no water to pump the sewage. So what you're going to do with the toilet situation? There's no tap water. So where you going to get water? There's no petrol pumps. So how are you going to put petrol in your car to get to a shop? The shops don't have anything because the trucks can't get to the shop and everything's probably sold out. So you literally are stranded in your home with nothing. So how do you use what you have in your home to survive? That is what this concept really is about. And it's about repurposing the things that you have in your home. Like we've started storing up things for the garden, things for this type of thing, you know. Don't throw things away. Store it up in a nice, like my aunt is very organizational, so she has like a whole section for where the tins go and the bottles and everything. So yeah, she's a real champ. So
Sorry, Cindy, are you going to give us printouts of this?
I can send this presentation.
Sure. Wow, thank you.
That and then and it's about setting your home up now with irrigation tanks, with setting your house up for harvesting rainwater, setting your house up for like either septic tank or something should you need a toilet situation. Yeah. So it's about now, while you have time, looking at how your house is and what you can do to start setting these things up, because knowledge is power, and the more you use your knowledge, the more you can share with others and help them prevent. Because I mean, people panic when they don't know what to do. But if you know what to do, you don't have to panic. And that's part of the peace that the Holy Spirit gives. So God also gives us wisdom. So when we use the two together, we will everything.
Sorry, you said urban survival. Okay, in the context of you living in a city or in that environment, what about country living attached to this? Would there be any differences? And could you also incorporate that in that context of country living?
So this is also why I need this type of platform, because these are just ideas that God gave me. I need people to help me expand these ideas, help me grow it, help me to bring it into fruition, so that we can help other people. But it needs to start somewhere, because like I said, I can't do everything in it. Ashwin can't do everything, so like we need help. We need to build this concept. These are just like rudiment ideas that can be expounded upon. So I'm just sharing the ideas that I have so far put together. But that is a good point. We could have survival, urban survival in the city, in semi-country, or whatever the case may be, and we could then split it up also.
I'm looking at the various aspects there. Certain things you can use anyway.
Yeah.
But just to add to what you're saying there now, maybe a camp situation for a weekend or a long weekend type of thing. Taking you out of this environment into the practical environment where you can show and guide us, or together we formulate a type of a program where we can go through various steps in the theory as well as the practical part for the future.
Yeah, so I need guidance and help because
Yeah.
this is all I know.
Yes.
Can I just come in there just to add on? We had thought about this as well, and what we discussed. There's another guy, Byron, as well. He's also involved with survival and that. But we thought of having a weekend like camping somewhere, for example.
Yeah.
Then we get a backpack ready with certain tools that we might need. So before the time, if we can get those tools, and then we go into the country and we try to tackle some of those things. So that would be like the next stage. But we're starting, of course, like now with health, and then we from this we can then go on to part 2 and say, okay, what other part then we tackle? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to ask when my wife had this idea, for example, she's passionate, she want to focus on agriculture. So it's almost like when I said I'm more interested in survival. You get what I'm saying? If I'm stranded now in the wilderness, someone dropped me with almost with nothing, then I have those skills to I can find water, I can find food, I know my plants, I know the medicine. Like you said, I never knew that when your arm is broken, I can use mud. What type of mud? You know, to make a casket or whatsoever. So I'm thinking of this platform as a start, as you said, where we throw our weight in. Everyone has a passion in a certain field. If I just look, for example, Richard is a very skilled person. You get what I'm saying, with making stuff, fixing things like that. That is, for example, one of his skills. So I know, for example, you will be more interested in that. Like I said, if we even can put our energy, commit to something, not like it, and bring our knowledge, just as you said, it grows. There's a little flame that you feed, and it grows and it grows. But we can't be an expert in everything. But as we come together, the basics we all know, but to be more specific in a certain field will also be helpful.
Yes, and that's exactly why we need this platform, because everybody needs to see what, like you said, their passion is and how they can input to the various areas. Like, I mean, this is just a general overview of sort of everything we can touch on, but everything needs to be expounded upon and built. Because every section is huge and can be huge, but we also need to do it in categorical order. In terms of, I mean, we can't, what is it, the chicken or the egg, you know?
Yeah.
So we need to like in my mind, it would make more sense to start with your home agriculture first, you know, setting up your home first, because that is the first point of contact where you will be stranded. God forbid, we are thrown into a situation where we are stranded in the wild, but at least because we're doing this, we sort of have those little skills and knowledge. But it's about building upon every idea and concept and growing it, but more to share with other people, because the point is that the 300's message is all about helping others prepare for this coming. So use what you know to help others prepare. That is the main. We can't keep it to ourselves.
And just, I think COVID was a very good example of survival. But that is, I mean, in-house, but we still had money. It was still a means of getting stuff from the shop. So we still had it easy.
Yes.
But I mean, that was a wake-up call for me, personally, with my family. That was a wake-up call.
And now the electricity situation is also a big wake-up call. Because God is gracious in that slowly He's weaning us off electricity, learning to, you know, not go bonkers because suddenly there's nothing. So we're learning, and His grace is sufficient, but we need to know more. And we might know how to deal with it, but others might not. And that is our mandate. is to help others.
Mm.
So that is the main focal point with all of this.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
No,
Can we, after your talk, look at time frames? How we can give ourselves some homework and then say, look, by then we'd like to escalate and improve and formulate something. Say in 3 months' time type of a thing. Or by then we'd like a camp going. Let us set some time frames so that it's just not a talk shop. And then you spoke about growing this idea. I think when we do that, we can then, after your talk, just channel our minds in that direction.
yes, we can workshop it. Okay. So then making your own toiletries, how to make your own shampoo, how to make your own soaps, and this, I want to go back to the basics, not using like melt and pour type of soap situation. I want like a basic how to make soap using ash and fat from scratch, because that is going to be the reality. So we need to get as real as possible in that type of, that's the concept that I'm going with. Identifying what plants have saponification, and saponification is basically how the cleaning process works. The saponin forms a micelle, which is like a little bubble, and the bubble engulfs the dirt, and then the water washes that bubble with the dirt in it away. So that's the bubble is what cleans you basically. So identifying what plants have that characteristic to use. For example, jump the gun again. So then also sanitary wear, that is important, it's a reality. Lotions, herbal balms and herbal remedies. So we need to learn how to make all these things, because if at least one person in the home needs to know, because you might be an expert in that, but now if I'm stuck in my home and you're stuck in your home, I can't get to you, and I need your expertise. So we need to equip ourselves with as much knowledge across everything as possible, because we don't know what situation we might find ourselves in. And we, with the little bit that we know, we might be able to help the next person who's with us or who doesn't know. And I believe God will give us the capacity to absorb and learn. Okay, so then this is like the retreat concept. So I've divided it into 4 sections where we will have agricultural classes. We will then obviously cover everything to do with agriculture, soil preparation, planting, insects, weeds and everything that you need to know to grow your healthy crops. And then cooking, preservation is very important. We need to learn how to preserve things, whether it's fermentation or canning or dehydration or whatever. But we need to also learn how to do it without our electronic equipment. So again, back to basics. How do you dehydrate something in the sun, for example? So those are the types, and you need time for these workshops and classes. And then carpentry classes, learning to make tools from scratch, learning to build something, a house or a little makeshift room or something from scratch, using the things around you, because now you don't have your caterpillars and your bricks and your normal building equipment that we are used to building with. Now you have to literally from scratch erect something. So it's about teaching people basics along those lines, also because we don't know where we might end up. And then medical missionary classes, which is very important, because as we know, the medical missionary work is going to finish the work, basically. So I believe everyone must have a knowledge on this, even if it's a little, because your little can help somebody. So then we'll do, you know, everything medical missionary, hydrotherapy, things just herbal remedies and so forth. But that obviously would need a week, weekend, or 4 days, or whatever the case may be, to cover maybe each section, or 1 weekend on per section, or I don't know how, but these things will need more time. And so again, this is just basically covering like what you do in the agricultural classes, knowing what to plant, how to plant it, when to plant it, knowing how to prepare your soil, because if your soil is not prepared properly, then your vegetables won't have nutrients, and nutrients is the whole point of your vegetables, you know. And so it's about learning all these intricate things and how weeds can help, what to plant, companion planting, what to plant with what, and those types of things. Irrigation, drip irrigation. What do you do when there isn't water? The plants still need water. Those types of things.
Like for example, Ellen White's method of planting as well, so that you can get the tree growing faster. Like for example, avocado would take almost 7 years to bear a fruit, but then if you do the Ellen White method of planting, you can get it running up in 5 years, for example. So to get the tree getting faster, what do you need, those kind of things, and then implementing those characteristics in those classes as well.
Yeah, and I also feel that we need to implement the blueprint book, and mold everything according to how that is stipulated. Because things went wrong when people strayed from the blueprint. So now's a nice opportunity to go back and start it right, do it the right way. Yeah, and then
That's it. He has a few copies, so you can also, you know, give and learn from them.
yeah, absolutely. And then obviously, seed banks is also extremely important, because you can't grow anything without seeds. And at the moment, the powers that be are busy trying to do away with seeds. I don't know if you've noticed, but in the shops they don't really sell vegetable seeds anymore. They're trying to phase it out. And those that are there are GMO.
Yes.
And GMO is not good. So getting heirloom seeds now while we have time is extremely important. And building a seed bank is extremely
How
important.
long can an heirloom seed last without planting?
Hundreds of years, if it's preserved properly.
You can even vacuum seal it, then it will last longer as well. I personally have been buying seeds as well and keeping them, still in heirloom seeds, the GMO free,
Non-GMO.
non-GMO, so that if anything happens, because I think we were talking about it now, the farmers, if a non-GMO seed, if a GMO seed falls into a non-GMO, like say crop, it infects that whole crop
Sure.
to not be natural anymore. So then it becomes genetically modified. So we want to like see how we're going to be able to deal with it.
And the seeds are important for our health also.
Yes, very
And they
much
know
so.
that.
Yeah, and also the reason why there's a lot of health problems is because of genetically modified foods. For example, if we just look at people that have gluten intolerance, it goes back to the type of wheat that is actually being used and how it's been processed and how it's been genetically modified. And that is the root of why most people have this ailment. So it's really about trying to get back to the basics as much as possible, because our bodies, God made it so amazingly that it can heal itself, but it needs the proper equipment. So it needs the proper nutrients, it needs the proper foods, it needs the proper workings, exercise, and new start and all of that stuff. It's very important to do things in the right way in order for us to live healthily, because when our bodies are healthy, we can be of better service to God. So the cooking would be like how to stock your pantry properly, juicing, water storing, fermenting, dehydrating, vacuum sealing, how to make flour from edible plants. As I mentioned earlier, there's actually like even acorns, you can make flour from acorns. So there's a lot of things that you can make flour from. It's not like just wheat and so forth. There's a lot of things that we can actually use to supplement that are actually healthier. So it's about learning that. It's about learning how to do agro-processing, which is your making of your condiments or anything basically from your vegetables, whether it's jams or chlorophyll or whatever the case may be. Learning how to eat from your garden, whether it's the vegetables, the herbs, or the weeds, because a lot of weeds have great nutritional value, like the wild lettuce that I spoke about earlier, like the amaranth that I spoke about. Those things we should start learning to incorporate into our everyday meals, because they have a high content of nutrition and minerals, so it's very healthy for us. So we should start using that, and obviously start trying to change our diets in terms of using ancient grains and not like the processed flour and so forth. And your ancient grains is your amaranth, your kamut, and spelt, and those types of things. And then just basic hygiene, storage, and so forth, because you need to preserve things properly. Then the medical missionary part would be all hydrotherapy techniques. And hydrotherapy is extremely important because lots of ailments can be healed through hydrotherapy. And the main concept of hydrotherapy is basically just to reduce circulation, because where there is healing is in the blood. So when there's a problem in the area, you need fresh blood to get to that area, because the fresh blood is packed with your red blood cells, which will oxygenate, your platelets, your white blood cells, which is extremely important to fight whatever pain and infection is in the area, and then obviously your nutrients and all of that stuff as well is in the blood. So circulation is very important in trying to get new blood to an area of pain or injury. It's extremely important. So hydrotherapy really can do wonders. In fact, hydrotherapy used to be used by all medical professionals until about the early 50s. Then they stopped using it. And they use it as an amazing tool, and that's why the sanitariums and so forth were big at the time, because most of the healing came mainly through just hydrotherapy. And it still works. People just don't know about it, they don't know how to use it. And it's quite simple. It's just knowing what to use, when and how. And then just basic home cares, herbal remedies, learning how to make your basic tinctures, balms, salves, and so forth. And then once again, foraging for your medicinal plants. So it's identifying, firstly, at your home, what is medicinal, what can heal what, and so forth. And then making your own toiletries, either with what you have in the house or what you have in your garden. Then the carpentry, so it's making your own household DIY products. It's like how to make concrete, the old Roman way, making your essentials, your knives, your bows, those types of things. And we need to learn how to replace our electronics with a tangible thing that can work. Yeah, a manual, that's the word. Thank you. With a manual type thing, because look, we have to face it. We know it's coming. We can see it starting to come now with the way things are going. So we need to jump while the iron is hot, and I really pray that God gives us enough time to be able to execute this and help as many people as possible. And that is the Joseph model in a nutshell. So basically the concept, that is the overview of what it is that I feel that we need to work on. And we can then obviously, brainstorm as to how to execute it, how to set these different things up, how to work it out. I've been very impatient. I've waited a whole year for something to happen. But God's time is always the best time. And we need to wait on Him and His wisdom and His providence. So, I don't know if you want to take a short break.